Hey y'all, welcome to a very special episode of THKD TV. Today I will be counting down half of my top 20 metal albums of 2018. The other half can be found on the THKD blog site. And so half of it is video, half of it is written. Hopefully you like both watching videos and reading if you want to see the entire list. But on this here video, I'm going to be counting down 10 albums out of the top 20. If you want to know the rest, you're going to have to go over to the THKD blog site. And I will put up a link in the description box so you can go right away and check that out after you're done watching the video. Before we get started, I just want to say 2018 has had its ups and downs, but I really started taking advantage of the YouTube format, so it's been enjoyable for me to kind of branch out the THKD brand and do something a little different. It's been a lot of fun doing these videos, and I appreciate those of you that have watched them. It's kind of hit and miss, but it's been picking up steam here, and I enjoy doing it, so I'm going to keep doing it whether anybody watches them or not. So it is what it is. I am drinking this delightful Great Basin Milk Stout in celebration, so cheers everybody. And let's begin counting down these 10 albums. Again, if you want to see the rest of the top 20, you will need to go to the THKD blog site. And please keep in mind that these are in no particular order, so the order that I talk about them is meaningless as usual, because I don't understand how people can rank metal albums from different subgenres. Like, how can you say, oh, this black metal album is better than this grindcore album? Like, how do the two even compare? I don't know. But anyway, let us get into it, shall we? Whew. I'm probably going to belch at some point because I've been drinking all this stout, but I'll try not to because that would be super uncouth. Anyway, I have been rambling now, so let's get on with it. Up first, we have Behemoth with I Loved You at Your Darkest. This album got a lot of shit. A lot of people didn't like it. There have been some reviews that absolutely trashed it. I think it's fucking great. Behemoth did something different on this album, and that's why people don't like it. They were in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. If they had done the same thing they always do, people would bitch that they put out the same album over and over again. If they changed, which they did, people would bitch because they changed. So here we are. Behemoth have changed their sound quite a bit. I mean, it's still recognizable as Behemoth, but they've added some more sort of rock-oriented textures to the songwriting, made things a little bit catchier, slowed down a little bit as far as the pace of the songs is concerned. And I think they've come out the better for it, honestly. I think they needed to shake things up with their sound. There are some good songs on here. Bartzabel, for one, is catchy as all hell. Ecclesia Diabolica Catholica. Yeah, I think that's the title. That one's super good. Wolves of Siberia is awesome. God Equals Dog, even though that song got a lot of shit because of its title, is really fucking good. Another thing people didn't like was the use of a children's choir on this album. I thought it was pretty fucking cool myself. To hear some kids saying Jesus Christ, I forgive thee not, when you consider all the fucked up shit that's gone on in the Catholic Church, and you consider the fact that Behemoth is from Poland, where the Catholic Church pretty much controls everything, or at least they used to. I don't know. I know at one point the majority of Poland was Catholic, and the church had a lot of influence there. But anyway, when you consider those things, I think that's pretty fucking hardcore of them to do. And again, I think they were at a point in their career where they needed to do something different. I mean, Behemoth are known for being overwhelmingly fast and overwhelmingly heavy, but I think you can only take that sound so far. And I think with The Satanist, which was the album before this one, I think they did that. I think they took it as far as it could go. That album was a little more dynamic, so it kind of hinted at the direction they were going to go in with this one. But I think this is, fully realizing some of the changes that they hinted at on The Satanist. I think overall The Satanist is probably the better album, but I really like the changes they've made here. A lot of people don't, but I think they did a pretty phenomenal job of taking their sound in a different direction. So again, that's Behemoth. I loved you at your darkest. Up next, a band you may not have heard of, although I did review them on my blog earlier this year. This is The Creatures from the Tomb with The Terrifying Menace. The Creatures from the Tomb are a gore grind band from Germany. Why does Germany like gore grind so much? It's a mystery. The world may never know, but we're glad that they do because they produce bands like The Creatures from the Tomb. And the cool thing about this band is that though they are a gore grind band, their visuals and their lyrical content is not particularly gory. This is actually a concept album about the classic Universal monster movie, The Creature from the Black Lagoon. And unfortunately you can't see it because it's actually behind the camera, but on the wall behind the camera I have about 4 or 5 different Creature from the Black Lagoon figures in their packages nailed to the wall because I'm a great big nerd and because Creature from the Black Lagoon is my favorite Universal monster. So when I saw this album before I even heard it, it caught my eye because of the cover art. And then when I saw the song titles, I knew it had to be, the entire album was about Creature from the Black Lagoon. It wasn't just, cover art for the sake of cover art. So I was very excited to get a hold of this. And, the band, they are just catchy as all hell. They're heavy as all hell. They are just pretty much the perfect example of what gore grind should sound like. Remind me a little bit of Cock and Ball Torture in that respect. They just have that classic sort of groovy gore grind sound. Would also remind you a little bit of The Day Everything Became Nothing from Australia, if you've ever heard that band. But this is by far, listen to some good share of gore grind this year, and this is by far the best gore grind album of 2018. These guys are super under the radar right now, but you need to check them out. This came out on Rotten Roll Rex, so get a hold of it however you can. I believe Severed Records and Comatose Music both have copies if you're in the US. So if you like gore grind, if you like Universal monsters, if you like The Creature, get a hold of The Creatures from the Tomb. Up next, a band that's near and dear to my heart, but also a band that broke up a long time ago. Yet this release comes to us from the world of the undead. It is Pungent Stench with Smut Kingdom. Pungent Stench broke up a long time ago, and this album was actually recorded back in 2007, but it never was released because they broke up. And in fact, I was supposed to see them in Des Moines, Iowa, believe it or not. They were coming to a bar called Harry Mary's that was there. But little did we know, they broke up and canceled the whole tour. So I showed up and the place was closed and completely empty. But anyway, I don't know why everybody else knew that that show wasn't happening, but I didn't. Whatever the case, I went there and there was no one there. So anyway, this was recorded rather back in 2007, but it was shelved due to the band breaking up. Finally saw the light of day over 10 years later in 2018. And if you liked Latter Day Pungent Stench, if you liked Amputee, you'll definitely like this one. I know a lot of people are not crazy about Amputee. I think it's a fucking great album. But if you like that sort of really heavy death and roll sound with a little bit of, I'd say, maybe some stoner rock influence to it, this is, picks up right where Amputee left off. And the lyrics are gloriously un-PC. So if you're not a fan of the way things are going in this world of people trying to make everything PC and perfect and, ostracize anything that's could be considered offensive or dangerous or against the grain, then Pungent Stench is definitely a band to check out. If you've heard them, I'm sure you're a fan. If you have not, maybe, I don't know if this is the best one to start with, but maybe start at the beginning of their discography and work your way up to Smut Kingdom because it is well worth checking out. It is one of the best death metal albums of 2018, even though it was actually recorded in 2007. So I'm not sure what that says about death metal in 2018, but here we are. Again, the mighty Pungent Stench, one of the best death metal bands to ever exist. Smut Kingdom, get it. Go right now. Turn this video off. Go get Pungent Stench's entire discography. Beer break. Hold on. All right. Next, another band that is near and dear to my heart. This is Archgoat with the Luciferian Crown. Archgoat have been around since 1989, but they've only put out a handful of albums. So every time they put out a full length, it's kind of a big deal. And they've definitely become one of my favorite bands over the years. If you dig the Blestial, if you dig the bestial black death metal sound, these are the guys to check out. These guys are ground zero for that sound. And I also want to point out, I believe it was last year or the year before, I finally got to see them live, and they just totally, one of the best live shows I've ever seen as far as the atmosphere and how good they sounded, and, you know, the whole bit. They were so goddamn heavy, they practically leveled the place. The venue is on the second level of the building, and I was scared it was going to collapse. but in all seriousness, Archgoat, if you dig the black death metal hybrid sound, these are the guys to check out. They also like to incorporate a lot of kind of slow, doomy, Sabbathy riffs into their sound, and you know, they have a great atmosphere. Their albums always sound great, and they just, what can I say? Archgoat is Archgoat. If you don't know Archgoat, again, this is another band. If you don't know them, stop this, turn this video off, and go check out Archgoat. Get on Spotify or wherever, and get to it, because they are one of the godfathers of the black death metal hybrid sound, and they are the best that there is out there. And anytime these guys put out an album, I guarantee it's probably going to be on my year-end albums list. Yeah. Like I said, Archgoat is one of those bands, like, what more can we say about them? So, check that one out. The Luciferian Crown by Archgoat. Okay. Next, we're going to switch gears a little bit. I don't even know if you can really call this a metal album, to be honest with you. In fact, I know you can't really, but I'm putting it on my list because it's my list, and damn it, I'll break the rules if I want to. This is Black Magic SS with Spectral Ecstasy. Do not let the obnoxious colors fool you, which I actually like the obnoxious colors, but these guys play really good. If you're into like the occult rock sound or psychedelic rock, these guys bring it. You know, they have a little bit of a black metal side to them, I guess, because of the vocals, like especially on the verses to the songs. The vocals are kind of a black metal-y rasp, but they do have clean vocals as well. And so if you're into stuff like, I don't know, gosh, like fucking Iron Butterfly, Jefferson Airplane, shit like that, this would be a good band to kind of, a modern band to check out. I believe I don't know if they're sketchy or if they're just kind of taking the piss with some of their imagery. Nobody really knows who's in this band, as far as I know, unless last time I tried to do any research on them, I could find absolutely nothing. But their label, Infinite Wisdom, is based in Australia, so one would assume they are Australian, though who knows? It could be just one guy. Who knows? It could be dinosaurs. It could be gremlins making this music. Nobody really knows. Anyway, if you dig that sort of 60s psychedelic rock sound, these guys do it better than anybody else, pretty much. You know, a lot of those bands are getting pushed to the moon. These guys will never get pushed to the moon because of some of the imagery they incorporate. But if you're into that sound and you're not afraid of the sketch, they do it better than anybody else out there. So these songs are so good. Like Black Hand is amazing. Spectral Ecstasy, My Love. The whole album's amazing. There's only 6 songs on here, but they're all quite long and they're all very catchy. And dude, if you listen to this just once, these songs will get stuck in your head. Just great atmosphere on this, great production. The riffs, all the instruments are amazing on this. Definitely Black Magic SS, Spectral Ecstasy. Check it out. Now, an album that I have reviewed before, and in fact I reviewed it quite recently, but I want to bring it up again because it is the best slamming death metal album of the year. And that album is none other than Internal Bleeding, Corrupting Influence. These guys have overcome a ton of adversity. I won't go into it all because you can check out my review, a full review of the album if you want to kind of know about all the hardships these guys have gone through. But regardless, they have come out on top. They have released a kick-ass album. It is the best brutal death metal, or rather slamming brutal death metal album of the year. These guys invented that sound back in the day. They've been around for a long time now, and they are the masters of slam. If you have not heard Internal Bleeding, don't call yourself a fan of this style of music. You know, they don't... The thing about Internal Bleeding, and this is something I like about them, is they don't really change much from album to album, but what they do is they find new and interesting ways to present slamming brutal death metal. They always have great riffs. They always have awesome vocals. They always have interesting lyrics. They really put a lot of thought into this style, whereas a lot of bands do not. A lot of bands that do this style, and I said this in my review, they just kind of go through the motions, and a lot of the albums just sound like one long slam, but not Internal Bleeding. Internal Bleeding, they're creative with their slams, their musicianship is top notch, and they put so much thought and effort into what they do that they deserve a hell of a lot more recognition than they get. So if you're a fan of brutal death metal, if you're a fan of slam, you need to check these guys out. This was the best slamming death metal album of the year. Again, that is Internal Bleeding with Corrupting Influence. I can't say enough about this band. Okay, so sorry, I got a little intense there, but hey, up next we are about just a little over halfway through, so hopefully you won't have to listen to me rant and rave for too much longer. Beer break. Okay, so switching gears back to the darker side, we have the Black Sorcery from Canada. These guys are similar to Archgoat in some respects. They do the blackened death metal or bestial black death metal style, much like Archgoat. And of course, I'm sure there's some influence from Blasphemy and Conqueror and bands of that nature, because Canada is really good at the bestial black death metal style. Like I said, Raspe Cult, Blasphemy, and the band surrounding that. And of course, as I mentioned, Conqueror and Revenge, all that good stuff. So, but these guys are new. This is their first album, and it totally kicks ass. I caught wind of them on the internet. I contacted the band, ordered the CD directly from them, and I'm very happy that I did, because this is fucking killer. This gives Archgoat a run for its money as far as best album of this style in 2018. These guys are super under the radar, and I hope they won't be for long. They've either are already working on another album or have already completed their second album, so expect to hear more about these guys on THKD. But anyway, this album's really good, and I especially like the vocals on it. The vocals are really varied. Some of the vocals sound like what you'd expect to hear on a brutal death metal or a slam album. They're almost a pig squeal type vocal, but you've also got like black metal rasping and some more deeper traditional death metal sounding vocals, and oftentimes the vocals are layered and just hysterical sounding and just doing a lot of really cool things vocally on this album. But the riffs kick ass, the drumming, everything's good about this album. I can't say enough good things about it. And I did review this on the blog, so you might already have checked them out, but if you have not, you gotta check out the Black Sorcery, because man, it is good stuff. This is a debut, and if they're already giving Archgoat a run for their money, there's something to be said for that. So, Black Sorcery from Canada. These guys are super under the radar. You need to get a hold of this now. Stop what you're doing and get that CD. And now, this is an album that I feel like I've been listening to for the entire year. I don't remember exactly when it came out, but I feel like it was probably the first album to cement a spot for itself on my list. I seriously don't remember what month this came out in, but this is The Lion's Daughter with Future Cult. Don't let their name fool you, even though they're named after a romance novel. These guys, they kind of play a hybrid sludge black metal sound. And the thing that really sets them apart, especially on their second album, is that they incorporate John Carpenter style keyboards into their sound, and they integrate them quite well with the metal aspects of their sound. So it's not just kind of like, oh, here's a keyboard interlude, or oh, we're gonna stop doing metal for a second and here's a keyboard part, to sound like John Carpenter or whatever. They do a great job of incorporating the keyboards, and I hope they continue to go down that road and incorporate the keyboards even more. because I'm sure, as you guys know, I'm a huge John Carpenter fan. So like, anytime you put those kind of 70s, 80s vintage synth sound on something, I'm going to enjoy it. And it's just kind of one of those shut up and take my money kind of things for me. I love that sound. I love those movies. I love that era. So, once I heard The Lion's Daughter, I had heard their first album, and it didn't really grab me, and maybe I need to go back and check it out. But as soon as I heard the first song that they released off this album, I knew I had to have it, and I'm glad I picked it up, because I've enjoyed it throughout the entire year. It feels like it's one of those albums that I know I'll be listening to probably 10 years from now if I'm still alive. so I can't say enough good things about this. The production's amazing. The keyboards, which I ranted and raved about, are fantastic. But the cool thing is the keyboard's not just a gimmick, and these guys are really good songwriters. And even if you took the keyboards away, this album would hold up. And I love the fucked up artwork. So if you can see that, you've got kind of like a weird bondage mask, blind guy, and mummified dog. So, and the booklet is just as cool too. So, in my opinion, The Lion's Daughter put out the complete package here. It's got, like I said, cool artwork, great songs, very interesting as far as the incorporation of the John Carpenter keyboards and all that good stuff. Sadly, I did not get to see them when they came through Sacramento. So, Lion's Daughter, if you are listening to this, please come back to Sacramento so I can see you live. I will buy a t-shirt. And I will buy a ticket and a t-shirt. And I'll support the venue by drinking beer. So, we are almost done with the countdown. And I'm almost out of beer, so it's working out nicely. Everything is as I have foreseen it. All right. This one I discovered kind of late in the game, but it has crept up onto my list, and it is Candelabrum with Portals. This is another band that's kind of mysterious. I think they're from, I want to say, Portugal. Does that sound right? I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, these guys, they've been around for a little while now, and I heard some of their earlier stuff, and it didn't really grab me. I didn't really care for it. But I'm always kind of interested in those sort of mysterious black metal entities. So, although I wasn't crazy about what I heard, I decided, the next time they put something out, I'll check it out, because I thought the potential was there, but it just wasn't quite in a place where it grabbed me. So, when I finally was able to take a listen to some of this album, it hit me right away. The sound is very lo-fi, but you can still tell what's going on. And that's something I really like about this, because sometimes I feel like these black metal bands, they use the lo-fi production as a crutch to make up for the fact that they can't write good songs. But that is definitely not the case here. You can hear what's going, although the production's lo-fi, you can hear what's going on, and you can tell that there was a ton of thought and effort put into these songs. They are lengthy, they are hypnotic, and they are just really well written and put together. In spite of their length, I'm not always a fan of long songs, but the songs on this album really hold your attention for the entire duration. And beer break. And it's just, it's one of those albums that you can kind of get lost in. I guess I would say it's a total environment. It just kind of drags you into the world that it creates. And it's got really good use of keyboards. Good riffs, and riffs you can actually hear. So I do appreciate that. I'm all for shitty production, but when it gets to the point if it just sounds like a Merzbow album, well, hell, I'll just go listen to Merzbow. So I appreciate the fact that they really are good songwriters, or I'm not sure if it's a single entity or a band, but whatever the case, Candelabrum are masters of their craft, and I think this is only their second album, so that's really saying something. I think this is a band to keep an eye on, because again, they've only put out, I think, a handful of demos, and this is only their second album. So I think they have a lot of more development to do, and I think this is great, but I think they're going to be even better in the future if they continue down this path. So best get in on the ground floor now. Well, I guess technically their earlier stuff would be the ground floor, but whatever. Get into Candelabrum now before they blow up, before they can become the next Leviathan, because this is really good, and you won't regret it if you're into the atmospheric black metal sound. This is probably the best atmospheric black metal album I heard in 2018, and there's a lot of bands out there now doing this style, but the most of them fucking suck. So forget those bands and listen to Candelabrum. They kick ass. We are down to the final album on this list, and I am out of beer, so it's a good time to be at the final album, and I don't know why I'm talking this way. But anyway, the final album on this countdown is Levidity, Perseverance. Levidity are from Decatur, Illinois, and as a resident of the Midwest, I can safely say that Midwest death metal does not get the respect it deserves. Bands like Levidity, Broken Hope, Jungle Rot, they don't get the love that other bands from the East Coast or the West Coast do. And it's probably because, they focus more on the brutality aspect and writing catchy songs. They're not really into the whole technical wizardry thing. They'd rather write a song that you can actually remember and tell apart from the one you heard before, rather than fucking wank on their guitars or whatever. So they don't get the love and respect they deserve, also because they have a tendency to write un-PC lyrics. I think that probably has a part of it. Very much in the vein of Chris Barnes era Cannibal Corpse in that respect. But whatever the case, Levidity have been around for a long time, but as far as full lengths are concerned, I believe their last album came out in 2009, which was right around the time THKD was kind of getting off the ground as a blog. So that's why I haven't had a chance to cover them, is because they haven't, they've released some splits and I think a live album, but I don't really review stuff like that. So it's great for me to finally be able to talk about Levidity, because they certainly deserve to be talked about. And Perseverance, definitely their best sounding album production wise, but I would say that it's actually also their best album as far as the songwriting's concerned. These songs are very catchy, the lyrics are very disturbing, yet they will stick in your head. This album is definitely not safe for work. If you're easily offended, I would not recommend checking it out, but if you like gross, perverted, fucked up, disgusting death metal, this is the album to get. This is the style of death metal that I enjoy. There's all these bands doing the old school death metal thing. To me, they all sound the fucking same. I have no interest whatsoever. I like fucking brutal death metal. I like death metal to be sick and disgusting. I don't know what's wrong with me, but that's what I like. I'm not into this whole retro death metal bullshit that's going on right now. I could care less about any of it. So again, Levidity, Perseverance, it's offensive, it's heavy, it's catchy, it's fucked up. If any of that appeals to you, this is the album to get. Again, lyrics are very un-PC, so if you're not a fan of the fucking PC bullshit that's going on right now, this is a good album to listen to. It will calm you of your worries about the PC nonsense that's going on in the metal scene. And ladies and gentlemen, that is all for this half of the THKD Top 20 Metal Albums of 2018. If you want to know about the other 10, you will have to click on the link in the description box and go to the blog, and then you'll have to read. And even if you can't read, there are pictures of the album covers, so you will know probably what they are by the covers. And with that, I say cheers with my last drop of beer. If you can see it, there it is. Thank you for watching. Thanks to everybody that supported THKD throughout the years. 2019 will mark 10 years of THKD, in spite of the off and on nature of me and changing the name and then changing it back and doing stupid shit like that. THKD has now been around for 10 years, or it will have been around for 10 years very shortly. So I hope you'll stay with me. Those of you that have been with me since the beginning, I appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the diversification of THKD into YouTube and other things in the future. So again, cheers. Here's to you. Thanks again for watching. go check out the blog so you can see the other 10 albums I picked for the top 20. Thanks, guys, and take care.